Good evening, everybody. Welcome aboard. It is your conductor on this wild ride, Demetrius Villa. Hope you all are having a good night, evening, or afternoon, morning, wherever it is in your part of the world or your neck of the woods. So, it's going to be a pretty chill night. We got a couple things we're going to go on about. Number one, let's talk about Brightline, and then we're going to talk about a couple more things concerning money. Because as you kind of know, unfortunately, it's not trains that make the world go around, but it's money. It makes the world go around, unfortunately, but it's what it is. We'll talk a little bit about that, what's going on in some other technology spaces, and we'll go ahead and leave it up for the audience to go ahead and chime in. So it's going to be a nice evening. Hope you all in Discord are having a good time. Hello, everybody in the chat as well on YouTube. Hello, Brightline fans, Star Force 97, and Adam. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we talked a little bit about this last week, but I wanted to go a little bit more into detail about this to get everybody to sort of just think about if you haven't thought about it already, but the amount of impact to the economy, the positive impact that building this type of transportation would do for the United States. So, as you may know already, there's preliminary work already going on for the Las Vegas to Los Angeles area high-speed rail system by Brightline, which will be the first true high-speed rail in the United States ever. I know we sometimes call Brightline down in South Florida the original, the OG high-speed rail, even though technically its max speed is 125 miles an hour, and sometimes we call the Acela high-speed rail, although its average speed is kind of dismal, around 60 to 70 miles an hour. And unfortunately, the infrastructure in the Northeast Corridor cannot hold higher speeds because some of the infrastructure, as we talked about on last week's episode, dates back to a little bit over the Civil War. And they're trying to go ahead and get everything done, like the Baltimore Tunnel, dating back to 1872, something ridiculous like that. They're now building the Frederick Douglass Tunnel, which will be built in 2035, if all things go. But we'll talk about how construction around the world goes. That will also be another topic to talk about tonight. But as we talked about, this was a week ago, Brightline announced Tuesday of last week that more work will begin this week for the high-speed train that will connect Las Vegas and Southern California. So they're doing field work, they're doing preliminary work of getting samplings for the dirt and area around there so they can be able to build this correctly, so the train, all the rail, the ties, and everything there is safe, that it can be able to run at speeds of 180 miles an hour above. So this is going to be basically the starting date, which we had last week, and they are still working around this time as well. So here's the area. So March 14th as well. So they're starting work all this and next month. So this basically says that Brightline, there's technically a shovel going in the ground. So yes, it's kind of technically shovel ready at this point. This is a big thing because typically a lot of projects, particularly in the United States, are a lot of bluster. There's a lot of studies. There's a lot of papers and white papers. There's a lot of fancy graphics about what can be done or what's going to get done. The difference is with Brightline is that it has been done. You can see an actual physical train down in South Florida working over here. You can actually ride on it. You can actually go on it, and you can say, let me extrapolate this and put this in other places within the United States, in different A to B areas, different areas that are between 300, 500 miles apart, or 250, 550, around that range, give or take. This is where high-speed rail is going to make its mark. Now, of course, high-speed rail is the big thing that we talk about on this channel. We kind of started with it, but we talk about all sorts of types of rail, and that's what we'll be talking about as well, from freight rail to other types of passenger rail, street cars, heavy rail, commuter rail, etc. And of course, the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure that is around the United States and around the world. So this is what we're talking about over here. So in some instances, they are closing down some freeway shoulders. So instead of 2 lanes, it will be 1 lane. No big deal for the time that they're doing it, and they're doing it in daylight time hours. So this is all the work that's already being done. And you can see this list. We covered it in more detail last week, but we want to cover in detail this week is the 11,000 workers that will be needed to build Brightline. Now, as we talked about, the American economy is in distress. And I would say all the economies are in distress. Funny enough, Japan, as we like to talk about in terms of high-speed rail technology and rail technology in general, they have slipped to fourth place in the largest economy in the world. Japan used to be the second largest economy back in the 80s and 90s. They went down to third place around 2010 as China has roared into the global economy. And we'll talk a lot about China as well in the next several articles. But they're now in fourth place in the world. Now, GDP, honestly, it's kind of a BS way to measure a country's dominance, or a country's, let's put it this way, to measure how the citizens are doing in a country. Because in Japan, yeah, every country's got their own problems, but honestly, Japan it's a lot safer. There's more opportunity for some things or another. At least Japan is Japan. The United States is in turmoil, not just economically, but also, hey, Kansas City. That's all we'll talk about that. But yeah, what's going on with you guys, huh? What's happening there? But anyway, and apart from what's going on in the border and everything like that. So again, the world economy, and I would say if you were to really extrapolate other ways of measuring economic output, plus other, I would say, anything to do with family stress, happiness at work, fulfillment, etc. The intangible, the metaphysical stuff that also goes into it, because that's the problem is that America is so into talking about just the physical stuff, the money. But what about having people work and making them feel like that they're actually contributing something, giving them something of worth, right? And this is what we're talking about when it comes to actually building infrastructure, is that we build more jobs over here in the United States, and hopefully those jobs actually go to actual Americans, and especially, I would say, Zoomers and Millennials who have been completely screwed out of the market, giving them blue-collar work to be able to work and feel a sense of purpose. And that is what is missing in this country, is a sense of purpose. So it seems that possibly 11,000 people will have a purpose in Las Vegas and California to build something that will connect not just the people now between California and Las Vegas, but generations to come. And that's what we're talking about. So there's a lot of interest. We've been getting a lot of interest. We've been getting calls from all over the country, said Vince Saavedra, Executive Secretary Treasury of the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union. 3,000 construction and trade workers will be hired within Southern Nevada. According to Saavedra, they'll be responsible for the roughly 50-mile portion of the project from Las Vegas Boulevard at Warm Springs all the way to the California border. He encourages anyone interested in apprenticeships to explore options on the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union website, which is linked over here. So anybody who lives in the area, who's looking to get into an apprenticeship or to become a journeyman or trying to get into either craftsmanship, masonry, here we go, they'll probably talk about what they're working in. Okay, so they're looking for iron workers, operators, bricklayers, electricians, cement finishers, sheet metal workers, among many others. So if you guys are interested in any of that sort of stuff and you live within the area, give it a try. I mean, what's there to lose except for doing another job application of probably the hundreds that you've done that don't even hit somebody's email. You know what I'm saying? At least try, right? And that's the thing, is that we have to be able to make a better pipeline for people to get work. It's not just about making jobs and shovel-ready jobs in the United States, which helps tremendously, but it's also making sure that we have a pipeline of students of Zoomers and millennials that need to be able to find a job, to be able to find a purpose, and be able to work something with their hands, right? Because that's honestly the more fulfilling job. You're going to feel more fulfilled actually working and doing something than probably sitting behind a desk. Although sitting behind a desk is comfy and all that sort of stuff, I mean, time really goes by when you're actually working on something. And I can say that from my own experience. But anyway, so now that many large projects across the valley here have wrapped up, from the Sphere, Fontainebleau, the Durango Resort, Formula One, which will be also there next year, was kind of a debacle with the silly bridge or whatever that they had to do. But anyway, hundreds of unemployed union workers will be the first in line for those open positions. Some brand new apprentices can work on the Brightline project, and they honestly need to put, it should be some sort of regulation in order to say, okay, this amount of percentage of people working on this project need to be under a certain age or have to be apprentices. Anyway, apologies for that. So, yeah, this is this type of stuff that we're talking about over here. It's, and again, I'm not quite sure about the details of this, but this is something that can be really good for workers in that area, and if we can be able to do more of that type of stuff here in the United States. So Fox was there to give a union tour to Clark County officials about hiring strategies at sheet metal workers, Local 88. They might work as a pre-apprentice, be able to get a job with one of the contractors that is working on the Brightline project. It just doesn't stop there. That's why it's pretty important. They will have an opportunity to carry on a career, said Kenneth Bosket, who instructs apprentices. So this is a good opportunity. Again, if any of you guys are in that area, any of you watching this in the future, there is an opportunity there. I'll go ahead and just link this in the chat just in case. So it's in the live chat there, just in case you want to go ahead and check that out. Again, there's a whole lot of issues when it comes to unions within the United States, and I get all that, but at least looking at it from a larger perspective, this is honestly a better thing. And it's not just the United States that's building a lot of, or let's put it this way, it's not just the United States going into building high-speed rail. The rest of the world has been building rail projects among rail projects for the last several decades. And what we have here, this is according to Global Data Project Database, 250 rail construction projects broke ground in 2023 with a combined cost of $249.8 billion. So roughly $250 billion worth of projects now going on in the world. Now I want you to notice when we go through this list where the vast majority of them are. And this is why you can see where sort of the problem lies in. So at number 10, the Ningbo CG Railway from China, it's a cost of $4.6 billion. I'm not going to go into every single one, but I'll just go ahead and summarize it. So this is a 39.8 mile intercity rail line with an underground tunnel of 9.9 miles, which will be underground of a mountain over here. So you're having a mountain tunnel as well. So the construction of 13 new railway stations, 6 underground stations, 7 elevated stations, bridges and tunnels. So let's see. Work began. Let's get this. So we can kind of see the difference of what's going on over here. Work began in May of 2023 and is expected to be completed by the end of 2026. Again, nearly 40 miles, 9 of it which is tunnels, and a lot of it is underneath a mountain as well, a 4,593 foot mountain tunnel section. So why are we talking about a tunnel in the United States, which is supposedly the most powerful country in the world with access to unlimited funding? Why is it going to take 10 years to build not even the amount of miles that this is being built? This is 9.9 miles underground, or probably not even half of that. underneath. Why? But anyway. Number 9, the Taiyuan Underground Railway in Taiwan for $4.7 billion. Again, Taiwan is technically not China. So it's not all Chinese, right? The Taiwan Ministry of Transportation and Communications is constructing a new underground rail line from the Pujin Station to Yingyi Station in Taiyuan, Taiwan. So what are we talking about? 14.9 miles with underground stations, a depot, control rooms, installing signaling, lighting, safety systems. And again, look at this. Began in June of 2023, estimated to be completed at the end of 2026. So it's not just the communist Chinese, okay? Because it seems the Republic of China, or Taiwan, however you want to call it, can also build this in 3 years. So it doesn't seem to be a system or a political system sort of problem, whether it's a communist China or a democratic China. It doesn't seem to be a difference. So the Dhaka Metro line in Bangladesh is also building rail. $4.7 billion project, 19. Okay, again, the airport line involves the construction of a 12.4 mile underground metro rail. So again, underground buildings, underground stations. So let me see. They started in February 23. Expected completion date for the Dhaka Metro line is towards the end of 2028. So maybe not as good as the Taiwanese or the Chinese, but they're definitely building a lot faster than it takes for what we do. Oh, wait. Plus a 19.4 metro line from the Dhaka airport. They're building a lot more. All right, number 7, the Ningbo metro line in China, $4.8 billion. Okay, so 24.6 miles, comprising of 24 new stations, part of a second expansion plan for the metro to be approved. So again, same sort of stuff. Construction began in 2023. To be completed in September of 2027. The Huangtao Baizi, I guess, Railway, $4.9 billion, again, in China. So this is 3 Chinese projects that we're talking about so far. Okay, so, and this one is more towards regular, not just metro rail. This is actually heavy rail. $4.9 billion, 195 miles. 18 new stations, a top speed about 100 miles an hour. Is a national class 1 single track electrified railway line comprising of 125.5 miles of new railway and the remaining 7.3 using the existing section of the railway that exists there. I'm not going to go through every single name. But again, December of 2023, scheduled to be completed in December of 2028. The Yan'an Yulin HighSpeed Railway in China, $5.6 billion. And this is 150 miles. Top speed of 217 miles an hour. Again, you have to understand that China started building their rail line around the time of the Obama administration, right? So you can take it this way. China started from basically, they still had steam trains running, like close to 100-year-old steam trains running in some places. Meanwhile, the president at the time said that he wanted to go ahead and connect over close to half of Americans by this time in the 2020s. You can kind of see the difference in what has happened. And again, it has nothing to do with the political system. As you can see in Taiwan, you can see in Japan, you can see in Germany, you can see in Spain, you can see in every other country. It seems to be a problem here in the United States. And we will talk about that. But look at this. 150 miles, 217 miles an hour. part of China's 8 vertical, 8 horizontal high-speed rail networks. They always love their little names and stuff. The 2 incompetencies, like they call some of their military. I was watching a channel on China's military and how they've been building rapidly, quickly too, as well. Again, economies of scale and having a supply chain. Yeah, maybe their stuff is not as great as us, but they're close to about 90% of the quality in some stuff right now. I mean, honestly, it's the massive economy that they have there and the ability to be able to do that. That's the problem, is that we don't have factories over here onshore in the United States to be able to keep up with that demand and production. And that's kind of an issue. It's a national security issue as well as an infrastructure issue for us. I mean, at this point, I mean, we're not even defending our own borders, so what's the whole deal of national security anyway if we're not even secure here? They started in November of 2023. The new line is expected to be complete at the end of 2027. And this is including 6 new stations, bridges, tunnels, control rooms, parking spaces, installation of electrical equipment, lighting systems, and safety systems. So again, this is pretty big. Now, Brightline does want to get this completed before the 2028 Olympics. So we can call 2024 the start and give them 4 years to go ahead and complete it before the 2028 Olympics. They can definitely do it. Absolutely. No doubt that they can be able to do it. Will they do it is a different question. It's honestly, they'll probably get it done. There's a lot less pushback that they had to deal with initially when building Brightline down in Florida. There's basically no NIMBYs here in the desert. They're building it along the right-of-way already that's here. They've already gotten approved for that. So honestly, that's not a big deal. We'll talk about this creature later. Funny enough, talking about war and blowing up other countries, the Tehran metro expansion in Iran for $5.8 billion. So even Iran is building rail projects. So this is at a cost of $5.8 billion, 34 stations, 21 of them newly built. Let's see how many miles. I'm not really saying. Excavation commenced in 2023 in August. All 3 lines are expected to be completed by the start of 2029. Again, this is all within the decade. No, this is not China. It's Canada. At this rate, it might as well be the Toronto Yongi, or is it Yonge? I don't know, guys. Canada. I mean, come on, what's going on? How do you pronounce this? Yongi or Yonge? Somebody help me there. Subway extension, Canada. The regional municipality of York. That can be easily pronounced. In partnership with the York Region Rapid Transit Corporation, the City of Toronto, and the Toronto Transit Commission are undertaking the Yonge Subway Extension Project in Ontario. And this was announced back in 2008. I don't know, maybe this is kind of a North American issue, but then again, we saw what happened down in Mexico with the Maya train. I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know what's going on, because Canada kind of copies us, well, I wouldn't say they copy us, but very interconnected in terms of politics, in terms of policies. There's some similarities. 5 stations will be developed as part of an extension project, an average spacing of 0.9 miles. Of the proposed 5 stations, 2 stations will be located in Toronto, 3 stations in York, Clark, Langstaff, Longbridge, and Richmond Hill Center. The project will include the construction of a bridge over the East Don River, alignment in Richmond Hill Center. All right, construction. Here's what we're talking about. So again, this is for 5-mile extension. Construction activities on the extension commenced in February 2023 with an estimated completion date of 2030. So this is the only project that is supposed to be completing at the start of the next decade for only 5 miles. Meanwhile, every other country is completing theirs. Even Iran is trying to complete this in 2027. I'm sorry, wrong one. 2029 for 34 stations. I'm pretty sure it's a lot more mileage than whatever Toronto is doing. So what's going on? What's going on indeed? The Sydney Metro Western Sydney Airport. So again, another, as you can say, Western country. The government of New South Wales, through Transport for New South Wales, is constructing a 14.3 driverless metro rail line to link the suburb of St. Mary's to the center of the new Aerotropolis. Is that an airport? Is that a funny Australian name to say airport? Is that what they're calling it? $7.2 billion. You can. There seems to be a thing, especially with the Anglo countries. We seem to be having a bad time of trying to cut down on costs. I don't know. It's we've talked about it plenty of times. But anyway, so 4.2 miles of earthworks, 2.2 miles of elevated viaduct, 6.2 miles in total with tunnels, 14,000 jobs. Began at the end of 2023 and is expected to be completed in 2026. Okay, not bad. And of course, the biggest one over here, funny enough, you guys wouldn't have ever guessed it, in Poland, $8.9 billion, a central communication port. And this is an entire mega project, so this isn't just rails. This is encompassing other infrastructure in here as well. Building a new airport from scratch 25 miles south of Warsaw. Including the construction of the new airport, the 2 runways, the terminal buildings, the commercial and retail units, as well as parking facility and connecting roads. This is also including a city, modernizing 1,491 miles of existing railways within Poland, constructing 1,119 miles of new high-speed railway lines, consisting of 10 major corridors, as well as building new controlled access highway network connection. That's pretty big. Again, this is connecting a whole ton of infrastructure. This is why it's a whole entire project. Now we can do this sort of stuff, and again, it's a matter of time. And hindsight will be 2020 once these projects are completed. Some of these projects may not be completed within a decade. They may say that, but things happen. You never know. But it looks like they're going to be completed. Let's see, construction at the airport, which will act as a hub for LOT Polish Airlines, commenced in October 2023, with the first phase of the airport and a few sections of the railway lines anticipated to be completed by the fourth quarter of 2027. The most expensive rail projects. There we go. So, $8.9 billion, $7.2 billion, $6.8 billion, $5.8 billion, $5.6 billion for high-speed rail in China. Okay, we're starting to get some numbers over here, right? So obviously, it doesn't take that much to build a rail project. So again, and this is all different countries with different political systems. I mean, we're talking about from Iran to China to Taiwan to Australia to Canada. Okay? Political systems all over the spectrum. So what is going on? The problem is political will. Because apparently, the United States doesn't have the political will to fix its own problems. But we do have $95 billion for not us, not you. You're not going to get $95 billion. And wait, they passed this with 70%. Let's look at it. 70 to 29. 70 to 29. So it's obvious they can do it. You have this creature over here. This creature, Chuck Schumer, going ahead and pushing this stuff. Again, for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. But not the United States. Now, it may not get through the House. It probably will. I mean, look at how much it went through the Senate. It may get through with only just a slight margin. But this is still a major issue. And this is the reason why we can't build high-speed rail within the United States. Okay? People can say whatever they need to do about high-speed rail. No, the problem is that we do not have the political will and the gumption to go ahead and just say, hey, we need to change our priorities. Our priorities are wrong. It's time to prioritize our own country, our own people, and our own infrastructure. Not a war somewhere else. Not a proxy war anywhere else. Okay? These 3 countries are going to have to defend. This one can certainly fend for itself because we give them a hell of a lot of money. This one's not doing too well. And honestly, that it needs to end. It needs to stop. enough bloodshed over here. And this guy, I mean, he's doing all right. As long as we can be able to fix our own military, I don't think China is going to start to invade as soon as we all think. Okay, because they're having their own issues as well. Again, I don't know. I've been right on things and I've been wrong on things. But again, why are we as the United States, when our infrastructure is failing and everybody else is building something for their own country, is it take it takes so long to get this done? Now, to the credit of the federal government, they did give Brightline West a good amount of money. They gave them about $6 billion of grants. Again, $6 billion is great. But when we're talking about, that they can do this at the drop of a dime, to be able to get that done is unbelievable. Okay? I don't know. Maybe Chuck Schumer has a couple of napkins that he can get signatures on. It's a little strange. Let's put it that way. It's a little strange. And it's sickening. And again, could this be sort of a generational shift? Probably. Because here in California, they're trying to do a rail project in San Diego. And the NIMBYs are at it again. Wealthy homeowners are trying to block a rail project that connects San Diego to the rest of the country. And according to California, the economy depends on this connection. So, again, and you can probably guess the age range of most of the people in this community. Again, we're not knocking all boomers. I don't have to do this disclaimer every single time. But it's a little ridiculous when you can have a small minority go ahead and take advantage of the entire majority of the decisions for not just this country, but in some localities as well. It's kind of an issue. So this is in Del Mar, and San Diego's county's smallest city with less than 4,000 people, but it's affluent. The median household income of Del Mar is approximately $185,000. How many of us are going to be able to see making $185,000 in our lifetimes? I don't know. And the average home value is a whopping $3.6 million. So we're definitely not renting there. And like many other wealthy neighborhoods, Del Mar's residents care a bit too much about their property values. Now, we've seen this in Florida. And again, this is not to knock the rich or anything like that. There are rich people that do a lot of good stuff, okay? Because Wes Edens, the owner of Fortress Investments, is pretty on board, and he's a boomer. He is full speed ahead with Brightline, and he's very vocal about it. But again, that's a minority in that generation, and it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, a good and vocal majority of that generation, this is what they do. Many residents are against the change for only one rail connection between San Diego and the rest of the state. In the entire country, the economy depends on the connection for both passenger and freight transport, but landslides, rapid erosion, and seismic activity have caused collapses along the Del Mar bluffs. Again, so this is not just to increase traffic or anything like that. This is where the Surfliner, the Amtrak Surfliner, runs on, which is funny enough. And now I'm starting to see a little bit why California didn't build the high-speed railway between Los Angeles and San Diego. I still think they should have built it. They could have just gotten built, and if they got to this sort of roadblock, eminent domain, done. Don't care. You already own the right-of-way for this. It's getting done. I don't care. All right? That's it should have been done, because anyway, the Surfliner is I believe in the top 5 corridors on Amtrak, and it's definitely California's most their biggest ridership is on the Surfliner. So again, this is a big deal, because you have one little strip of railroad taking care of both passenger and freight railroads. So it's a massive safety issue. It needs to get done. According to San Diego Tribune, many residents are against the change. They brought up all kinds of potential dangers and annoyances. I'm annoyed from the tunnels beneath their homes the noise and toxic chemicals, vibrations to sinkholes, and of course a hit to their property values. We saw this in the Treasure Coast. The people who were behind, Florida Not All Aboard, and all the NIMBY groups that were in Florida at the time, at Treasure Coast, were bankrolled by former airline CEOs, and most of the opposition, a lot of them were from country clubs or affluent communities. So it's obviously not the majority, the working class American, that is against this sort of thing. Claiming potential threats to the environment as a common NIMBY tactic in California, the Environmental Quality Act is one that's been weaponized to block development on several occasions. The environmental movement came along with the shift in the mindset of American homeowners that a home could be a financial asset rather than simply a place to live. And again, I definitely do not agree with that. Again, using a home as a financial asset, it's what has caused the inflation of home prices and why you probably either don't live in a good house right now, you're living with your parents, or you don't own a home, or you're renting, as most of our generation is. Again, this is the type of stuff that we're talking about over here. It's going to be an uphill battle. And the problem is it's going to be a long slog, and it's going to be an ugly slog because you still have to get to work. You still got to make money. You still got to support your family. You still got mouths to feed. Unfortunately, there's a mouth in your family that's a lot hungrier, and it's called your automobile. This is a form of economic slavery in a sense because you're shackled to the cage, to go to work, to pay for the cage, to fuel the cage, to go to work, to pay for the cage, to fuel the cage, to go to work, to pay for the cage. Drivers are spending 20% of their monthly income on their cars. That is insane. Owning a car has become increasingly expensive for Americans. Again, we've been talking about this for close to a year. Apart from the gas prices that have increased, okay? Yeah, it's gone down a little bit here and there, okay? Zoom out the graph. It has gone up a lot, okay? Apart from the ownership and the prices of automobiles that have gone absolutely insanely ridiculous. It's a lot harder to now keep a car on the road, to get parts for it, to keep it maintained. It's a massive issue. It's a problem. So look at this. According to a survey, a majority, 50% agreed that their car expense has increased over time. Again, that's a majority. That is due to a combination of factors, including a rise in inflation that has increased the cost of vehicles, parts, and labor. And of course, a broken supply chain and the fact that you don't have another way to get to work. Okay? Because if you live basically anywhere, 95% of you are going to have to use a car. Can you use a bus? Sure. But as you know right now in the United States, the problem with people wanting to go on the bus, they don't feel safe. I don't blame most people that don't want to go on a bus. And I wish we had, all the trains, buses, and different types of transportation methods that we can be able to have available, like every other country that makes sense does. Have it here in this country. But unfortunately, we're plagued with the massive urban sprawl, which is the biggest contributing factor into why you have to be forced to get into a car. Because instead of driving or taking a train 5 miles to work or 2 miles, you have to go ahead and drive 30 miles or 40 miles. Heck, there are people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that live in Oklahoma, nearly 75 miles away, to get down to work. It's insane. So again, we have to look at the root cause of it. It's the way that we're building our cities, the way that we're building our infrastructure, that is, and the fact that the priorities of our government is not at all for your benefit. It's for theirs. And whatever money laundering they're doing or whatever proxy wars they want to go ahead and run. They're obviously, they're not supporting America here. So let's see. 1 in 10 respondents said they spent over 30% of their monthly income paying car loans. It's insane. Honestly, usury should be illegal. It's insane. Drivers who lease their vehicle were more likely to spend more on their cars than owners, as a long-term lease can often be more expensive than purchasing a car. It's insane. But things aren't necessarily much better financially for owners. Some 33% said that buying a car set them back financially. Yeah, it's a massive purchase and unfortunately a shackle that you're going to be paying into a heck of a lot more than you started with. Nearly 2 in 5 said they cannot afford necessary repairs and upgrades for their vehicles. I know that feeling. While 25% admitted to owning a car that is technically beyond their budget. Again, this is a big problem, guys. Don't spend beyond your means, okay? If you have a car right now and it's already paid off, just keep it. Do whatever it takes to keep it running and keep it on the road. If you need a car, don't get a new car, okay? 1, they're stupidly expensive. 2, they're not built the same way as they used to be anymore. Even Toyota, they're having issues too. Okay, the almighty Toyota is having a little bit of issues. Okay, certainly don't buy an American car. Half of them aren't even made in America, and the amount of recalls on them is absolutely appalling, to say the least. The most amount of recalls in National Highway Transportation Safety Administration history. It's happening right now. Guys, our supply chain is broken. Everything is broken. Just try to build what you can with what you can. That's just the best advice that I can give you right now. Build within your own house. First, build yourself, build your family, build your communities. This is going to be a long slog. And of course, if you live in the Las Vegas area, build some rail. That's what we need, builders. Boy, let's see. So, when it comes to breaking this down, when it comes to the individual costs that are weighing drivers down, 58% of respondents said fuel was the biggest factor straining their budget. Again, we're dependent on it. Followed by unexpected repairs. I know that. 47%. Routine maintenance, 44%. And I will give you a hint. Learn how to go ahead and do your own oil. It's not that hard. Okay? $30 to buy your own oil. Jack it up. Take down the pin or the spigot underneath. Let it go out. It's not that hard to be able to learn. You have YouTube. Okay? YouTube is free. You can learn how to build your or fix your car yourself. And again, there's some things that you cannot do. Like if you need to swap an engine, there's some things that you may not want to do yourself, right? So depends. Insurance premiums, especially, this is a big one, 41%. Again, you use it, and then when you use it, it goes up, no matter what you do. And it's been going up for everybody. Registration and licensing, 26%. Parts and auto loan payments, both 16%. So yeah, everything is going up. And you think, well, we can get away from oil, right? We can have some sort of alternative fuel source, right? Yeah, well, that's not happening. For the poor schmucks in California that thought hydrogen was the future and kept banking on hydrogen. Why? Why? I mean, I get you want to be a special snowflake. I get you want to be the contrarian while everybody's, well, not everybody, but as everybody's pushing electric, you want to get hydrogen, but you're shooting yourself in the foot, because now you're going to have, Shell is closing all 7 of its California pumping stations for hydrogen. And look, it's viable, it works, right? Honestly, I think that having electric is probably better if we can be able to fix up and beef up our electrical infrastructure. I keep talking about this every time. If we were to have more nuclear, that would be stupendous. But yeah, hydrogen doesn't really work for cars right now. It's viable. It can work. It's a lot quicker to fuel up than electricity, right? But it's essentially doing the same thing. Okay, the fuel cell is powering a battery, which is charging an electric motor, or powering an electric motor. So you kind of want to maybe skip the middleman, save some weight. I don't know. Look, it's funny. It's nice. Toyota is definitely a big pusher of hydrogen vehicles. I don't agree with that. More towards the hybrid section, if anything. But yeah, I mean, I think California is the only state that has hydrogen fueling stations anyway. There's really no place else that has it. So I mean, I don't know. But speaking of real solutions, and going back to what can be done in the local community. Well, actually, before we get to that, Again, electric right now, we're talking about silly ideas and bad management. You have a ton of electric buses, some of them from companies that have basically just exited the market. They got their senators paid off, they got what they needed to get done, and they're out, particularly Proterra. If you guys are familiar with what Proterra has done, it's one of those companies kind of similar to Solyndra, where Nancy Pelosi and all the creatures, basically bought into, and the minute they knew this was going to go belly up, they collected and walked away. Electric buses work. The problem is that the United States isn't too good at implementing infrastructure, and apparently is better at running money laundering schemes, unfortunately, which is sad. So now there's millions of electric buses that are all over the place. This company filed for bankruptcy, and that's what's going on. And it's not just there in North Carolina, but there's electric buses all over the United States that are sitting unused because they either don't have the parts. Again, this is a problem that we're talking about here, is that, we want to build all this sort of infrastructure, but we need to be able to do this the right way, be able to have the political will to see this through to the end, not just use this as some sort of money laundering scheme. And that's a problem. Okay, I'll go into what I was initially going to do before this section. We've talked about East Palestine in depth, and we've talked about ways we can be able to prevent another East Palestine. Unfortunately, another East Palestine is going to be inevitable, right? But I've been looking for ways to go ahead and see if there's a way that we can be able to prevent it to a local level, because it's not going to happen to the federal level. Unfortunately, the FRA is not going to put their foot down, as they should, but they're not going to. Different three-letter agencies will go ahead and make up new laws whenever they want to. It starts with an A, its middle name is T, and it ends with an F. But the FRA can't seem to have the same gumption for some reason. So it's up to here in Nebraska, the good old state of Nebraska. Less than 2 weeks after the Nebraska legislature killed a bill to require two-person train crews, which they probably should try to bring back, a legislative committee has heard testimony on another rail regulation bill, this one including limits on train length. So not just train length, to limit trains carrying hazardous materials to 8,500 feet and require mainline wayside detectors every 20 miles and require trains to stop and conduct inspections after receiving a defect message from such detectors. This sort of stuff would stop another East Palestine, or at least very much decrease the probability of another East Palestine happening, right? Because in between those 20 miles, yeah, something can go awry. But the train in East Palestine, it was going on for miles. They didn't conduct the right amount of checks and inspections that they needed to do on the train. They probably don't in a lot of places. And that's what led to that accident. It's one thing after another, after another, after another, piling up, and it leads to disaster. Now, most likely, and it's unfortunate, right, that we have to, we have a distrust of our freight railroads when it comes to this. They will lobby the heck to try to kill this. But this is something to watch, because we need to see, if it fails, we need to see how it failed and why it failed. It may fail mainly because of lobbying and political opposition to kill this. But, and here's a big but, if it does pass, or if it gets close to passing, we need to see how this works out, because this is a sort of blueprint that can be brought to other states and adapted to be able to prevent another East Palestine situation. This is what we're looking for. And this is something that I do want to look more into. Again, this maybe another interview opportunity, whoever's sponsoring this bill or bringing this up, I'll have to check. Other provisions require railroads to offer training on dealing with hazardous materials to fire departments along rail lines, set insurance requirements for railroads carrying hazardous materials, and prohibit railroads from blocking grade crossings for more than 10 minutes. Although the U.S. Supreme Court recently let stand a lower court order decision striking down such a law in another state. And again, this is the issue why it's hard to do. right? Because doing this sort of thing conflicts with the interstate and interstate commerce bill in some way, or how, or whatever. But I'm not going to get too much into the detail of it. Again, I'm tired. I haven't eaten anything for, I've been fasting, so not all there, but I got to get myself at least a little bit of the last of the eggnog I have left. So, yay me. At least a little bit of sugar in the system, right? It perked me up. So here we go. Let's see. Who is this? Okay, so Senator Lynn Walls, a Democrat of Fremont, Nebraska. This was who introduced it. So I'm guessing that's a she. Again, they're you have Lindsey Graham. Okay, that's a girl name. So I don't know. Lynn definitely seems like a female name. So you never know nowadays, right? But anyway, rather than waiting on federal legislation, let us, as Nebraska, take the necessary steps to protect our constituents and our crew members. Walls said in the story on the legislature's news site. She said there have been 42 derailments in Nebraska between January of 2022 and November of 2023. And it's only getting worse. Testifying in favor of legislation were representatives of the Nebraska Public Service Commission and rail union representatives. Representatives of Union Pacific and BNS testified in opposition. Who could have seen that coming? The committee took no immediate action. Earlier this month, the bill requiring two-person crews, which is absolutely necessary. You do need a driver and you do need an engineer on there, just in case if anything happens. Just like you have a pilot and a co-pilot. Yes, you may have every system in place and autopilot to be able to run the plane itself, but you need at least two people there. Was killed when the legislator failed to vote to end a filibuster blocking its consideration. So, unfortunate. But that's what happened. Let me see if I can look up the senator in the meantime. But yeah, guys, there's a bit of an opportunity, so definitely something to keep a watch for. You watch your career with great interest. Let's see. Yes, she is a female. So here's Senator Lynn Walls. So for those of you in Nebraska or know anybody in Nebraska, there you go. Somebody's at least doing something. At this point, I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican at this point. They're two wings of the same crappy bird. But at least somebody with some common sense, right? And at least trying to do something that they were voted for to do. Let's talk about some cool technology. Somebody brought up last week. We know who, David, but somebody brought up a company that was building basically these little pods or these little self-propelled cars that would move autonomously and independently on rails. It's kind of silly, but there's some good technology that's coming over here. Like, for example, a U.S. railroad group wants to make tracking train cargo as easy as on Amazon. So wouldn't it be nice if you were an operator or if you were sending some cargo to at least be able to track and see where things were going in real time? You think that would already be a thing in the freight railroad business, but apparently it doesn't seem to be right now. So U.S. shoppers can easily track Amazon packages to the front door, but big railroad customers can't see the real-time location of shipments of BMW luxury cars, fuel, or fertilizer as they crisscross the country. A U.S. coalition of railroad executives and the customers are working to change that. The project called RailPulse comes as the $99 billion U.S. freight rail industry seeks to bolster volume that has been stagnant for more than a decade, and as customers demand better service. Maybe that would be a thing instead of punishing your crews and forcing them to work double shifts and, I don't know, maybe using systems and programs to the benefit of the company would help. But we have more than technology. We have the technology. We can rebuild them, right? We can rebuild freight railroads. It is establishing standards, building a unified railcar GPS tracking system. The effort, which relies on collaboration between partners whose interests do not always converge, promises to improve planning and ultimately service and efficiency, participants said. Now, hopefully, this won't be used for bad. I mean, I can think of several ways this can be used for bad because they can use the data to go ahead and further not increase efficiency, but further increase the amount of ways trains are going, or further find ways to cut corners. But using this sort of technology in conjunction with safety technology, because again, if we can install GPS locators onto different rail cars, we can definitely go ahead and put safety trackers and other sorts of, it's not that hard, just put a Raspberry Pi on there, loads up some sort of programs, and get it done. It doesn't take that much. But anyway, we'll go ahead and see. But that's pretty cool, right? RailPulse envisions a revenue model where users pay a one-time charge to equip rail cars with tracking technology, periodic fees for communication services and software updates, and a monthly subscription fee of $3.50 per car. All right, now $3.50 doesn't seem like much, but believe it adds up. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in contracts here. All right, hundreds of thousands of dollars for just one car alone. And the amount of service. So even the railroads have to get on these subscription pay services. It seems like it. Now, you can't escape it nowadays. So there we go. That's something cool. Back in California, now hydrogen does work pretty well for, again, the system is already set up for it. If you can have this hydrogen system set up, it doesn't take that much. It's not like a car where you're basically stuck in one area. And you can't take a road trip on a Toyota Mirai because you're basically stuck in California. At least with rail, you already know where your set parameters are, where you're going from A to B. So having that infrastructure set up for hydrogen makes a little bit more sense, right? So Caltrans announced a $127 million agreement with Stadler Rail on Wednesday to purchase 6 more hydrogen-powered passenger train sets, bringing to 10 the number of train sets on order for use in the San Joaquin Valley. So that's pretty cool. And Talgo is going into building the first hydrogen high-speed rail train. The Impulso. A consortium of 10 Spanish companies will fit a Talgo 250 train with hydrogen fuel cells. Okay, so again, there's opportunities there to do it. So I mean, it can be a different alternative to diesel. And we'll see, because again, it's a diesel electric. You're basically using diesel to power a giant engine that powers a generator to power electric motors, right? Maybe you can do it with hydrogen. It's a possibility. It has been done. It can be done. So it's a cool test to see how efficient this is going to be and where the future is going to be set with that. Okay. So again, the opportunities are endless. This can go to. So this is pretty cool. So they're replacing one of the 2 diesel technical end cars with one equipped with green hydrogen fuel cells and batteries. So let's see how that goes. And in the business space, there's now looks to be a competitor against the Eurostar over in England. So railroad giant Eurostar is expected to have new competition as early as next year, and the move could ultimately make fast, eco-friendly travel more accessible and affordable. So if you guys don't know, between London and Paris and the mainland of Europe, there is a train called the Eurostar, and Eurostar does go around different areas too, to the Netherlands and the Benelux areas and the Benelux countries. But that's been the only way to get across through high-speed rail. It seems like it may not be the only dog in town now. As detailed by Smithsonian Magazine, Evelyn acquired 12 trains from French manufacturer Alstom in October, and if all goes according to plan, the high-speed rail startup could end. This is crazy. In Europe, you can have high-speed railway startups. You can't do that here, right? I mean, Brightline was technically a startup, right? But it seems to be more of a thing. Oh man, get that creature off the screen. It seems to be more of a thing over in Europe. As again, we see over in Spain, there are several different companies running along and competing against themselves on different lines in Spain. So just like, not even here in the United States can you pick sometimes your airline of where you want to go, because sometimes there's only one airline that runs one of the routes. Unless you want to pay out the wazoo and take an airline that's going to take you to take a layover somewhere else and then take you to your destination which will take you double, if not triple, the amount of time. Okay, but here in Europe, you definitely have competition in rail. So for here in Land of the Free, home of the brave, apparently we're not brave enough to do anything except to go ahead and spend, or we're not brave enough to stop these creatures from sending our money overseas. And I'm certainly not free enough to have a massive amount of private businesses running high-speed rail. There's only one right now in the country that is expanding at full speed ahead as fast as they can. But that's a thing over in Europe. Go figure. Rail travel has been increasing in Europe, with the European Commission also advocating for its adoption to significantly reduce carbon pollution. But anyway, so look at this. It will be the first time after 30 years of Eurostar's monopoly that a competitor has entered the market. Evelyn, spokesperson, told Reuters. So that's the company, Evelyn, going ahead and doing that. So yeah, of course, we know that riding a train is a hell of a lot more efficient, cleaner, and safer than driving a car. So as Reuters pointed out, the Channel Tunnel was meant to handle nearly double the amount of rail travel it currently facilitates. So adding new competition to the mix could play a role in helping the UK and European Union meet the pollution reduction goals. Can we talk about moving people faster and safer? Does it have to be everything with, man. Anyway, let's take priorities here, okay? This is about getting people from point A to point B in a much safer, more convenient, and more efficient manner. That's all. A competitor for Eurostar can only be a good thing. Time Out in-house train expert Ed Cunningham told his publication, hopefully it will mean lower prices, better services, and a wider variety of European destinations for travelers in London and the rest of the UK. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we've reached the top of the hour. Oh, we got 9 people over in the audience over here. We're going to see, let's try to get this down by 9:30. Or 9:45 is going to be the hard stop. Okay? But let's go ahead. Again, guys, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. In fact, let me go ahead and make sure that I have a timer. So in fact, I'm going to put a timer over here. And again, there are some things that are you guys do say that is absolutely valuable and it's great, but we got to also keep for time too, because we're getting more people every single stream. Okay, so if you have your hands up, you'll be able to come along. Of course, let's bring in David Mitchell, or conductor over here. How's it going, man?
Well, good evening, Demetrius. Well, 2 weeks ago, we had a train derailed in California that nearly became into a Tokyo trip of an East Palestine, and I sent you the video in the chat.
Oh man, let's check that out.
It was a local freight train where the back 2 tank cars derailed, took out 2 cars, and surprisingly took out the railroad crossing, but did not blow up.
Right, let's go ahead and put that up on the screen over here.
But I'm on my way home right now in an Uber again.
Oh man, wait, are you in the Uber right now?
Yep.
Okay, I hope the Uber driver's okay with. Isn't technology kind of fun? You know, you can be able to talk on the live stream while getting an Uber.
Hey, well, you know my dedication to this stuff. That's why I'm always the conductor.
Oh man, look at that! I just took down the gate and everything. Shoot.
Mm-hmm. But me and Brightline were talking about it a couple days ago on my live stream about some of that stuff, and Brightline are probably going to talk about it because I'm going to give him the reins on this when they come to his turn. But we nearly had an East Palestine because a train decided it wanted Tokyo drift into some car.
Multi-track drifting.
Yep. And we're caught on video.
Oh man. Which operator was this?
Union Pacific.
Oh man. For those of you guys that don't get the multi-track drifting reference, let's see if I can bring this up.
But I will bring up what I did talk about last week with you, because you already called me out on it earlier in this live stream about the autonomous train stuff. That I don't agree with, because really there are more negative stuff to it than there is positive. Just like the flying cars.
Yeah, it's just when you really look at it, it's just kind of silly. It's like, is it really going to solve the issue? It's a solution looking for a problem in a sense, right? Or creating more problems. It's a solution that's creating more problems, because instead of just taking hundreds of cars on one train and taking them to the destination, you're now going to have hundreds of cars just going all over the place in an infrastructure that's not readily able to go ahead and shift all this movement all over the place, with some of the right of ways being kind of narrow. So you're just going to have it's kind of silly. It's taking the whole Hyperloop idea and saying, hey, why don't we just put it on trains now, on train tracks? And it's not meant to be that way. It's not going to work that well.
Did the team that I'll be honored about? I only glad.
David, I think wherever you are, wherever your Uber driver's taking you, I don't think you have signal. Oh boy.
My ass off. Hey, but Hyperloop is not a train, am I right? But
yeah, and again, that whole system of autonomous card pushing, that can work in a port setting, or in a sort of acting as a switcher. It can work in that sense, but not to be taking cargo all over the place, hundreds of miles. That's kind of an issue.
Well, and that saying, instead of because there is a solution, they don't want to do that solution. They just want to go all the way around it, chasing their dog tail, taking a long way around.
Yeah, but
am I right?
Yeah, it's what it is. We got 33 seconds left. Anything you want to say?
Well, I hope this year is a good year for rail transit, because there are a lot of projects, and Genesis, aka Brightline, are probably going to be talking about some stuff we talked about on my live stream with you later on, just to let you know that.
Alrighty, I'll be looking forward to that. I appreciate you coming on, David. It's always a pleasure.
Always do. You have a good night, man.
You too. Take care. Good night.
Good night.
Alrighty. Let's see who's next. Oh, there's the timer. Okay, I guess I'm gonna be timing this, guys. All right. So next is Minor Tree.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Welcome aboard.
All right, I've got 5 points. I'll make it quick. The first point that you mentioned on the union parts, technically, in every single aspect, union membership is severely down and has been going down since the 1970s.
Right.
And outside of government-controlled unions, every single time it's been offered as an optional on the side, more and more people are saying no to them. So if they got rid of the point on we're just hiring union people, they can easily find the 11,000 people to start Brightline out in West with ease.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and honestly, you can do this without union work too, right? I mean, unless you got Tony Soprano up in Las Vegas, making sure he gets the unions working over there. You just don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and the next one, to solve the freight tracking issue, just get the tracking number off the packages themselves. Say, all right, it's in this rail car. We put this rail car on this train, and there you go. I just saved you millions of dollars right there.
Yeah, that's something that I do all the time with supply chain. And it's basically if you're changing, units or whichever else from one location to another, it's really just making sure you have something or someone on staff at different locations or something that just goes ahead and just tracks it. I mean, it could be a magnet or like an Apple tag or something like that, or something even less innocuous with that. But or a magnet, you just put a magnet on some location, it trips off an electrical signal and say, hey, this train just passed over through here. I mean, It's what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a whole bunch of simple ways it can be done right.
Well, if you say, all right, we're going to track the train engine itself, all right, this train engine has this cart connected to it, and we know in this cart is your package, that's the simplest way of solving it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you can do it right now.
Yeah.
But on the next one, the Anglosphere's infrastructure projects, basically, you look around the world, at least from what I found, for every single project done in the world, it costs 6 to 10 times more to do it in the United States and Canada, and many times more than normal in other Anglo-speaking countries, and there's just no good explanation for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, look what's going on over with HighSpeed 2, and that's been an absolute nightmare over in the UK.
Yeah, UK, it's like, all right, you're anywhere from 50% to twice as much as the rest of the world, but in your colonies, it's anywhere from 3 to 6 times more elsewhere, and then, like I said, it's 6 to 10 times more in just North America alone, except for in Mexico for some reason. So, other than just complete and total incompetence or just complete and total grift, there's not a lot to say on that issue. But on the next one, the car ownership side, it is a stupid idea to lease the vehicle outright. If your only goal is to own it for 3 years and then trade it in for the same exact car, only 3 years newer. I mean, for the most part, it's like, all right, if you're going to go buy a new car, the dealer is going to give you a great deal. You can buy it for 90% of the sticker price, but that last 10% that fills out the value of the car, you have to put it on an altar and light it on fire. Because that's how much money you're going to lose if you just drive it off the lot across the street and try to sell it.
Oh yeah, the depreciation just immediately like 20 to 30% is immediately gone the minute it goes out.
It's 10% the minute it leaves the lot, and anywhere from 40 to 60% within the first 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So if you want to buy a car, you buy it used, 3 to 5 years old, and then it's already lost about half of its value, and you drive it for a minimum of 7 years.
Yep.
But if you then solve that with the urban sprawl issue, for the most part, if you had a much denser city, so people either worked either from home or can walk to their business, and let's say, 25% of the population can do that. All right, that's 25% of the population that no longer has to drive to and from work. In the United States, it was 5% before the big cough, and then afterwards it's up to 10% in some cities.
Yeah.
So it's like, at most, you're just saying double that number. But then that allows you to deal with some of the urban sprawl. But unfortunately, that's about my time.
Right on time, man. Yeah, the ringer just went off on my end.
Yeah, each one of those info is like a 5-hour rant.
Yeah, I know how that is, man, but appreciate you coming on. That was some pretty good info.
Okay. See you again.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Okay. Well, looks like Genesis is next. Let's see what he wanted to talk about. David was so excited. This is going to be fun.
Hello, Demetrius.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing fine.
All right. So what was it that David was talking about that you wanted to go more into detail about? I want to hear this.
Oh, it was about the derailment. Actually, there were 2 derailments in California involving the same operator. One was actually a tanker train, and the other one was a coal train.
Oh, man. Hey, at least the coal train's not going to blow up on you.
Tell me about it. Yeah, Union Pacific is having a bad time. Also, I have actually shared an article about BNSF. The boss of one boss from BNSF got recorded about something. Let's see here.
All right, this looks interesting. Former BNSF track inspector
It
who
is.
secretly recorded boss shares why he took on the railroad. Okay, this is interesting. Sanders spent nearly a decade with BNSF, mostly in the critical job as a track inspector, and he loved this job until the railroad cut too many corners. Okay, this is definitely something we want to get into a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely interesting. We should probably talk about this next stream though, but this is really good. Yeah, and this is, people have been saying this, like that one comment that we had off of Freight Waves, talking about Norfolk Southern, and how many corners that they cut and how badly they treat their workers sometimes, and overworking them and not allowing for the proper inspections, cutting corners, allowing trains that should be inspected that haven't been inspected off, or not inspecting them, or inspecting them ridiculously quickly, and in no way that's a reasonable amount of time to be able to inspect the train. So, and this is an issue, but definitely it's a problem that is encompassing every single freight railroad company to an extent because of precision scheduled railroading, and it's an unfortunate problem. Anything you wanted to add on to there, or?
Yeah, there's another article, let's see here, below that Norfolk Southern is actually implementing state-of-the-art AI train inspectors.
Oh man, hold on. Let's see if we can look at that. Is that here on the same page, or?
That's in general. It's in the same page.
Okay, it's in the general chat. Let me go ahead and check that out real quick. Let's see. Down. Here we are. Norfolk Southern implements state-of-the-art AI train inspection process. Let's go ahead and visit the link. Oh, this is kind of rubbing salt in the in the wound right here. Implements state-of-the-art AI train inspection portal outside of East Palestine.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you be that tone deaf? I mean, instead of helping them, no, it's AI. AI is the cool and hip thing now, guys. Don't you like AI? Isn't that gonna help little Jimmy with his psoriasis, with his cancer? This is ridiculous. I mean, look, this is something that should have been done. And I mean, to Minor Tree's point, when it comes to tracking trains, I mean, if you have cameras that can be able to go ahead and from the images be able to inspect and quickly realize certain issues that are coming up, yeah, that's possible. But I mean, doing it in East Palestine, that's kind of tone deaf.
Yeah, that is. Well, about the country right now, the United States, I've heard that they're actually taking down the border wall again.
Oh boy,
that's what I've heard.
I've heard that, and they're putting some new border wall in San Diego or something like that. I don't know. This is just a problem that this administration doesn't want to fix. It definitely doesn't want to fix our infrastructure as much as they say they want to.
Here's the thing. They did this on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, they did this on purpose because they want cheap labor to the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's easier to control. And the issue is that time's up. Anything last you want to say, or?
Oh, I just wanted to talk about the border issue, but
no worries. I'll give you the last word. 30 seconds. I know because I talked for a good bit in your time.
You're going to. Basically, what worried about me is there's actually adult Chinese males illegally crossing the border.
Yeah, that's
yeah. That concerns me, and yet some people actually defend the current administration.
Yeah, no, it's indefensible what's going on, and it's unfortunate that we're at this point in our country. But it's unfortunately the situation that we're dealing with, and there's not much that we can do to be able to actually stop it individually ourselves. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on.
No problem.
Take care, man. Take care. Take care. Okay. Yeah, and I know, guys, that's the thing. We don't talk about it too much on the channel because, again, we try to focus so much on the rail aspect of infrastructure. But, yeah, demographics is a big issue when it comes to infrastructure because, as Biden has said multiple times, he wants an endless stream of immigrants. And with that problem, it's like, well, the infrastructures are really falling apart. So let's take this from just infrastructure focus, nothing about demographics or right wing or left wing politics or anything like that, right? And you guys know definitely where I stand with this. But let's just say, okay, we're gonna bring in all these people, into our country at vast amounts, far more than you told it was going to be with the Hart-Celler Act, because you said there was not going to be more than 1 million people coming in a year. There's definitely a hell of a lot more than 1 million people coming in a year. But since then, the infrastructure has collapsed drastically since 1965. And how are we going to be able to get all these people moving from place to place? What? We're going to get them into the cars? It makes no sense, even from an environmental perspective. Okay, you're taking people who had a smaller carbon footprint in their own countries are now going to be contributing a much larger carbon footprint in our own country, because to get to work for them, instead of taking a moped or walking or whatever they used to take back where they were, now they're taking a car, they're getting a lease, or they're buying a used car, or whatever it is, and they're bringing all their families to, which will all buy cars, and they'll all go places, and they'll all use the road. And they'll all use the electricity and the sewage systems and everything else. So it's just, it makes no sense either way you put it. Okay, from an environmental, infrastructure, demographic, any sort of perspective, it's wrong and it shouldn't be happening. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. Anyway, let's go next. Tobio Kageyama, welcome aboard.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Good. So, about Brightline West. Well, at least we're starting to get something.
Yeah, no, and that's a great thing for sure, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because in the same state, there's a project that's sure but it's ready for already 3 years now, and now we have to wait until until we have to wait another 7 or 9 years to try that thing, and it's not even a part of the original thing. At least we're starting to get something.
Yeah, it's kind of been the bane for rail infrastructure in the United States that anytime you mention high-speed rail, somebody somewhere is always going to mention California high-speed rail, and they're going to use it against you in a negative way. And it's unfortunate,
right.
It's sad. This project should have been already running. This project should be a heck of a lot more successful, and it shouldn't be attracting the negative attention it is. But it's unfortunate because of the way that they run the company and the amount of, for example, $66 million on consultants is ridiculous. First of all, it's a weird number, $66.6 million. Why? Are we doing some sort of dark magic ritual in California? Is it going to be the trains are going to be shaped in a pentagram or something like that? It's already bad enough in the world. Let's not start the book of the apocalypse here now already. With whatever dark consultants in California. Yeah, that's just a strange number.
Yeah, and even for the consultants, using, I don't even care if it was it was still the number, if the number was still 66 million. But I think that they could just, hired some, really real engineers that had experience in building high-speed rail in countries like Japan, Germany, or France, or Italy, or Spain, or I don't know. I think that instead of consultants, I think that California could have done something smarter than hiring real people who have high-speed rail. So
yeah, and it's obvious because it looks like they're just hiring locals or their friends or their buddies to go ahead and collect some money, pretend to do some things, and then they collect the paycheck and leave off of their contract. You know, it's a very bad look, right? Compared to what they could have done if they were super serious about this. Like, they got their priorities straight. It's like, look, we're gonna bring this for the people of California, for the United States, and for the world, for everybody here to be able to use and to enjoy, and for generations. So we're gonna bring the best. We're gonna bring the Germans. We're gonna bring the Japanese. Maybe bring the Chinese. At this point, right? It's California, right? I mean, they'll clean up the streets of San Francisco like this whenever Xi Jinping comes over. But for Americans, nah. Deal with the needles. Deal with the filth and the poop and the feces. But you know, it's sad. So you know, they could have done this. It could have been done if they got the right experts. Unfortunately, we don't have many high-speed rail experts in the United States. It's gotten a little bit better because, again, with Brightline and the increase for demand for high-speed rail, there's much more of it. But it's still not a massive market compared to the rest of the other transportation infrastructure within the United States. So you need to look at other places.
Yeah, and also going back to Brightline West, I really like the project and I really have an enthusiasm because, you know, obviously there aren't any vocal NIMBYs over there, so at least that's one more good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, even California's dealing with it too, but it's just what it is, man.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Anything else you got left to? Any last words?
Yeah, well, one thing because I forgot to say one more thing about the like, you know,
sure.
Because like you said earlier in the stream, in Europe, there's a new company that's trying to run a high-speed rail between another company that's trying to run high-speed rail between London and Paris, and trying to compete Eurostar. And you know, for us, we're just starting to have our own high-speed rail, which is kind of delayed, but at least we're getting something because yeah,
it's a start, and certainly we can be doing it a heck of a lot faster. We can increase where it's being built if we had again, our priorities are not straight here in this country, and the people who are running this have their own priorities in mind, and it's not for the United States. It's for certain other countries. It's unfortunate, but it's what it is.
I mean, imagine if we had another high-speed rail company that runs alongside the NEC, competing with Amtrak Sasola, and you know, shipping passengers through DC and Boston. I mean, why couldn't we have something like that too? You know, I mean, just think about that.
Oh yeah, it's possible. Heck, even in Japan, they have buses that are cheap tour buses that you can be able to take. Like if you wanted to go from Tokyo to Osaka, yeah, you can spend $100 to go on the Shinkansen. You can spend a little bit more to go, in luxury or whatever. But if you really, didn't care about the amount of time, you didn't want to get there in 2 hours, 8 hours is fine enough for you to go to sleep on a bus. You can take a bus for like $20, $30, even less sometimes. And that's a big thing over there, taking those coach buses all over the place in Japan. So it's, again, having options for all different types of transportation.
Right.
That's what works.
Yeah, and even in Korea, it looks like there's something like sure, they have their KTX services that runs between their major cities, but looks like they have some like a low cost carrier version of a high-speed rail service, and I'm pretty sure its terminal is a suburb of Seoul, and then connects all the other Korean cities, and I think that's a model that might even work in the West too.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, in the NEC, so.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're out of time, Tobio, but I appreciate you coming on. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come here too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. And last but not least, Ronell Reed. Okay. Welcome aboard, Ronell. I think you're on mute. Ronell, your mic. Going once. Going twice. Okay, Ronell, unfortunately we're going to have to get you first next time because your mic isn't working, man. It's unfortunate, but it's what it is. Oh, there you go. Right on time. You there?
Barely.
Okay, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead, man.
Yep. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Okay. Um, Regarding Brightline West, it's good thing, good thing happening.
Oh yeah.
Um, so it's mainly field investigation work.
Yeah, investigation work, surveying, sediment, all that sort of stuff. So basically making sure what construction materials they're going to need to use and pre-planning for where they're going to be able to construct the train tracks and the infrastructure for Brightline West.
It's have they had their official like groundbreaking yet?
Not the official groundbreaking. Yeah, I think it was for the station. But yeah, I mean they're building faster than most people would have expected them to build.
Way faster than California.
Yeah, that's the funny part, right? Is that California is taking their sweet time with that, and funny enough, it will be Brightline. It will be a Florida corporation that will be building the first high-speed rail in the United States and in California before California high-speed rail.
And I thought it would be TCR like a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, just to throw sand in the eyes of California. I mean, just to do that like right in their own backyard and right in their own state, right in their largest metropolitan area in Los Angeles is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be to Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah, Rancho Cucamonga and to within that area, yeah, and Victorville.
And they eventually, hopefully, make it to LA Union Station.
Yeah, there will be a metro train that will be connecting over to the Rancho Cucamonga station. So essentially, you can go from the LA Union Station to Brightline, and then from Brightline west all the way up to Las Vegas. That's the plan.
Have you ridden it since they completed to Orlando?
Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to be able to do so. Maybe soon, maybe this year. I do definitely want to get on there. I mean, hey, we got the first VIP ride on Brightline, the first passenger ride ever, and then I've gone on it several more times. But yeah, it's definitely an opportunity to definitely take.
I hear it's quite popular down there now.
Oh yeah, and it's just getting more and more popular. So it's pretty cool.
I think it'll be Siemens that makes Brightline West's trains.
Yeah, most likely it's going to be. That's what it seems like it's going to be. I don't think they'll jump ship to another builder. So it's probably what it's going to be.
And I think we can adopt the Spanish model, like the previous caller said.
Yeah, definitely. If
said.
And again, it's the foundation of building a system like that is making sure you have enough infrastructure to take the capacity, right? Because if you're just building one system, because the Northeast Corridor, it can take the capacity technically, but the infrastructure cannot hold that capacity for that long, and it's failing in many areas. Now, if you were able to go ahead and update the infrastructure with the same capacity, yeah, it's possible to go ahead and have multiple different train lines run on the Northeast Corridor. Could be possible in Florida at some point. It could be possible in any other major cities and city pairs and regions at any point. In the Midwest or in the Southwest or the South or Northeast Corridor. There's so many places that it can be built. Or in Cascadia, right? There's just so many places and so many opportunities for this to be done.
I think maybe doing triple tracking in some places, or even 4-track lines along the NEC.
Oh yeah,
probably alleviate or increase capacity.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. It can be done. It can be constructed. It's just making sure we can get the money put to that. But anyway, appreciate you coming on, Ronell.
You too.
All righty, take care. All right, so that's everybody in the audience. We're all set there. So we're at 9:35, so right before our time, 10 minutes early before our absolute cutoff time. So thank you all, everybody, for coming on board. This was quite the chill stream. And again, a lot of stuff that we're going on to. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, but also, again, the politics of the country, the way things are going. Again, it's messy, but at least we have an opportunity to fix things. So thank you all for coming on board. We will see you all next time on the American Rail Club. Good night and Godspeed. Take care.